It's just amazing like how far God can really take you, from being a crack addict on the streets to running ultra marathons and sitting in senators' houses having dinner with them. We grew up in a trailer. My dad, he decided he was going to send missionaries and start a painting business.
When Sean was 12, his parents also made the decision to adopt 3 children from Guatemala.
2 sisters and a brother. There's the difference in languages, but they started homeschooling with us. They seemed happy. They were happy to be in the family. Me and my older brother, Hugo, had started to work with my dad. Hugo has trouble because he wasn't waking up to go to work like he was supposed to.
The quiet day of work was interrupted by a phone call from the police. Something was wrong at home. Hugo was asking neighbors for help, and their mother was bleeding on the kitchen floor.
Me and my dad were driving home trying to figure out what was going on. I remember flying down the highway. I was crying. They had already taken my brother Hugo back down to the house to start getting his story. He said that he walked in the house, somebody was in the house with a bandana. They ran past him out the back door. He saw my mom laying on the ground bleeding and ran up the street. They noticed things weren't lining up.
By that night, police had pieced together the real events.
Around like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he was playing the Nintendo, playing video games. My mom told him that he needed to go to his school. He ended up bringing the math book in, had the knife under the math book. She grabbed it and saw the knife and screamed, and that's when he killed her. He was 14. He ended up getting charged as a juvenile, and he got sentenced to 11 years in prison. I thought my mom's life was worth more than 11 years in prison, and so basically from that point on, I decided I was gonna kill him. I would get a premeditated murder charge. I would either go to prison for the rest of my life or I would receive the death penalty. So like I never even pictured really living past 27, I was a pretty angry guy, like I didn't understand, My mom loved people so much that she was gonna adopt them and take them out of a horrible situation basically, and then he just lets my brother kill her. Like that, I just couldn't deal with it. I was mad at the world. I ran away from home. I spent my 15th birthday in the children's home. I started fighting, I started using drugs.
Hoping to put him on a different path, Sean was sent to military school.
So I got kicked out when I was 16, came back to South Carolina, and my dad was like, you need to do something, try and join the military or something. So I was like, well, if I join the military, I'll have extra money and I can sell drugs. Dad signed off on it. I turned 17 in June, and I went into the military in September. I was always fighting. I was still getting arrested in the military for fighting. So I was drinking a lot, smoking crack quite a bit right before I went to Afghanistan.
While deployed to Afghanistan, Sean continued his self-destructive behavior. But one night, he went too far.
I started drinking and I ended up blacking out, and I was just laying on the ground. And so they took me to the medical tent to try and get me awake. And they finally got me awake, and I went to walk out, and one of them grabbed me. They grabbed me, I hit him, and then another guy tried to grab me, and I hit them, and ended up with about 5 assault charges.
Facing 13 charges totaling 36 years in prison, Sean began to reflect and pray.
I remember just thinking about life and how it was just gonna go on, and that I really didn't matter. Like, my whole life had been so self-centered on me to be this bad dude and kill my brother, and it was like so much, it was just all me. And I remember just sitting there being like, I'm gonna be like 50 years old, the entire world is gonna go on without me, and it's not gonna make any difference. I started praying, I started reading my Bible. I remember praying and just hearing God say, like, this is the last time I'm gonna get you out of something. And shortly after that, I had a meeting with my lawyer over there, and they said if I would take the other than honorable discharge, that I would leave the military. I would end up spending 30 days in jail, and I would lose my pay for 2 months, and then I would have the other than honorable discharge, and I would leave the military.
Sean served his time and was immediately discharged from the military.
I came back, I was definitely dealing with the PTSD stuff. I stopped sleeping at night. I didn't have a job, and I did start drinking again and smoking weed.
Feeling trapped, Sean eventually accepted his father's invitation to attend church.
Yeah, I think I was just searching for answers. The pastor was preaching on 1 John chapter 4, where he's talking about how can you say you love God whom you have not seen and hate your brother whom you have seen. I was just thinking about like my brother that had killed my mom, and I know it's talking about your neighbor, but for me, I was like, how could I love my brother after he killed my mom? And so I started to wrestle with that for a couple weeks. I remember it was almost like every day or so I'd be like, God, how could I love him after he killed my mother? How could I forgive him after he killed my mother? Just one day I was asking that question. It was like almost, it wasn't audible, but it was like the answer that I got back was, how could I love you when you killed my son? And I just understood the weight of my sin, and that Jesus had died for me, and I understood what love was from that point on. I have to forgive him. Like, who am I not to forgive somebody if this is what I've been forgiven of, if I've been forgiven of the death of Jesus? So I knew I had to forgive him. That was a big point. That was a big changing point in my life. Stopped smoking weed altogether. I wasn't getting drunk. Like I wasn't out looking for fights or anything like that. Like that was all gone. I got married at 18 right before I deployed. It was so changing that my wife was like, what is happening to you? Like she just didn't understand it. We started going to church regularly. And I was growing a lot. I was starting to do evangelism stuff, outreach stuff, and trying to get my life back together, really.
Sean was still searching for a challenge and larger purpose when a manager at work suggested an idea.
He said that he was going to go run a marathon, and I was like, well, that sounds pretty cool. And I found half marathon, the Spartan Beast. And they're like, this is the hardest event ever. It's going to kill you. You're not going to finish, blah, blah, blah. So I started doing the obstacle races and loved the challenge. And I started getting better. So Ninja Warrior, my family told me that I needed to do that. They told me it was just a bunch of obstacles, and I was good at obstacles. Put a video together, sent it in, and they were like, we want you to come on the show. It's definitely cool to see like what God did with all that. I was meeting police chiefs, I was meeting mayors. They were giving me certificates, for being an outstanding citizen and being a role model. Here I am, this gang mayor, crack addict, and like I'm sitting in a senator's house having dinner with them. Like only God can do that stuff.
A few years later, God restored Sean's military standing.
I ended up getting my military discharge upgraded, and they upgraded it to honorable. So I didn't even know, but I got all my benefits back. I have a successful marriage. I've been married 11 years. I have kids that are happy. I'm still very busy, full-time school, working and training, but I have more opportunities now. It really is. It's a God thing. I never could have imagined those are the things that I would be doing after the life that I did live. To people that are out there like I was, well, what are you waiting on? Stop running from God, give him a chance, and your life can be completely changed.